This video was sponsored by CuriosityStream in partnership with my streaming service Nebula. Hey, happy Friday. This week Apple launched new iPhones that were all about that 5G.
5G.
Samsung finally became good at making mobile processors, and Huawei decided to maybe just sell off its budget phone brand Honor. As always, we also have a fresh new weekly tech knowledge quiz that is linked down in the description, and this week we also have a bonus quiz that is all about smart TVs. To celebrate that, we have just added those as a new category in Crowd. So check those out, and welcome to the Friday Checkout. Okay, my pick of the week will be the iPhone 12 series, and specifically their bizarre decision to make it all about 5G. From the marketing to the sales and even to making big sacrifices on screen, battery life, and design. And I have a theory on why they went so all in on 5G. So 5G is clearly the dominant feature Apple is pushing. They spent over 10 full minutes talking about it in their launch event. They had the CEO of Verizon on stage for 4 full minutes. It's literally the first thing you'll see on their product pages, even before the phones themselves. It's what the first 20 seconds of their commercials are all about, and literally the first letters you'll see even in their video descriptions. Seriously, there's a 49-second supercut on Twitter of just the word 5G being said again and again at the event. And in terms of design, Apple went all out as well, going as far as including this plastic 5G antenna cutout on the side of the US iPhone versions, and jamming so many 5G antennas in that they allegedly had to shrink the batteries, meaning potentially worse battery life and no room for power-hungry, high refresh rate screens. In other words, both their product design and marketing went all in on 5G at the expense of pretty much everything else. Now, most smartphone companies typically use a tool like this. I like to call it the pyramid of USPs, or unique selling points, where the responsible team will arrange features by importance for every new phone that gets launched. Most important features go on top and all the rest go below it. And I guess for the iPhone, that would look something like this. Which is just so bizarre. I mean, typically smartphone companies try to pick the one feature that they believe their customers will care about the most, but I just can't believe that for Apple that would be 5G. I mean, the networks aren't properly built out yet in most places, and nobody knows what the supposed big benefit for consumers is from 5G, beside downloading movies a little faster or something. I mean, Apple had 10 minutes to talk about 5G on stage, and they couldn't show one single really compelling use case. But as I kept thinking about it, I realized that, you know what, maybe consumers not caring about 5G right now might be the reason why Apple is pushing it so hard. They're trying to make them care. See, carriers like Verizon are spending billions on building out their networks, but so far nobody has been able to convince the average user to care enough about 5G to pay extra for it. Which means carriers spend all this money and get nothing in return, which makes carriers sad. So Apple sees that and goes like, yo, we have a pretty loyal fan base, we know a thing or two about marketing, how about we make people care and then we send them to you. And then you, in exchange, make sure to prioritize selling our phones over your network to your consumers. You can see signs of this by Apple, of course, giving airtime to Verizon at the launch event, but also, for the first time ever, selling iPhones cheaper if a customer has a Verizon or AT&T plan, and also including these two carrier offers on apple.com above direct pre-orders. And in exchange, we also see the iPhone 12 being treated as the de facto 5G phone Verizon is pushing, with it already being the only thing the Verizon homepage shows, and with Verizon officially launching its nationwide US 5G network the same day the iPhone 12 launched. It's a deal, and I mean, every phone maker does this to some extent, but this year, this generation, iPhone went all in on promoting carrier support over pretty much everything else, including a high refresh rate screen, for example. Okay, as for the win of this week, we have a series of news that I would just summarize as maybe Samsung's mobile chip business isn't a dumpster fire after all. First, a few weeks ago, we've heard that all upcoming Snapdragon 875 chips will be manufactured by Samsung this year, not TSMC, meaning that their manufacturing seems to be competitive on the high end. And second, we've heard good news about their next generation Exynos chips, starting with the upper mid-range Exynos 1080 apparently matching or surpassing this year's flagship Snapdragon 865, and the flagship Exynos 2100 likely finally being a match for next year's Snapdragon 875. All the exact details on core counts and benchmark scores are linked down in the description, and obviously we can't really judge the quality of a chip just by looking at leaked benchmark scores, but given that they have gotten their, at least apparently they have gotten their manufacturing right, and they appear to have abandoned their own custom designs, which didn't really work for them in the past, maybe next year Exynos will be proper competition for Snapdragon again. And my fail of the week is that Huawei is apparently looking into selling off Honor, which of course is their online budget brand that is supposed to compete against the likes of Xiaomi. And while I think this sale makes sense, it also really shows just how much pressure Huawei is under. Reuters reports a price of around $3.7 billion and potential buyers are rumored to be TCL, Xiaomi and Digital China, which is the company that has been distributing Honor phones so far. As far as I can tell, Honor is kind of a company within a company. It has its own R&D division, its own marketing division, its own supply chain management, all this kind of stuff. So technically, even though it uses, most of their phones use chips from Huawei and software from Huawei, they could technically be spun off as a separate legal entity. And then with the new owners, Honor would be freed from US restrictions. It could get access to chips from Qualcomm, for example, and it could use software from Google, which makes a lot more sense than trying to make it work under the current Huawei. I don't think Xiaomi needs yet another budget online brand, to be honest, but I can see TCL, for example, being an interesting buyer. They already make a few decent phones under their own brand, and they own the Alcatel brand, so I guess it could beef up their portfolio. Diversification makes a lot of sense for companies like TCL, and it is also something that we as YouTubers are after, which is why I got together with some of the world's best content creators online and created Nebula, our very own video streaming platform that is owned and operated by creators like myself, Real Engineering, Low Spec Gamer, Wendover Productions, Rene Ritchie, Polymatter, and more. Nebula has all of our regular YouTube content from hundreds of creators, including from both of my channels, ad-free of course, and usually released a day earlier than on YouTube. And on top of that, there are also a ton of really fantastic Nebula originals as well. Polymatter just launched a brand new original series on Nebula called A Hill to Die On, where he makes surprisingly convincing arguments for why Fahrenheit is actually better than Celsius, or why you should just call tomatoes vegetables instead of calling them fruits. More serious originals include Mustard's incredible in-depth look at Imperial Japan's bonkers aircraft carriers, a whole series on the logistics of D-Day from Real Engineering, and a lot more. All of that comes without ads, nasty tracking, and the pesky YouTube algorithm, and since Nebula is owned by us, the creators, watching content there supports us directly. Better yet, access to Nebula comes for free with a subscription to my sponsor CuriosityStream, which itself is 26% off right now, so you get both services for just over $1 a month. CuriosityStream is of course the premier place on the internet for high-quality professional documentaries from the founder of the Discovery Channel, and they have a huge library of science, nature, and history content to binge while you are stuck at home. I'm currently watching Cyber War on CuriosityStream, which is a documentary on hackers and governments doing nasty things, because apparently that's just the world we live in right now. And there's tons of other great content there from hosts like David Attenborough, Jane Goodall, Stephen Hawking, and more. So check them out at the link in the description, and I'll see you next week.